Today we're making a mac and cheese with a secret ingredient. So let's do it. Firstly, the topping for our mac and cheese, we want some bread. You just want to roughly cut up your bread and then stick that to one side for a few moments while we prepare some garlic. Take 1 or 2 cloves of your garlic, remove the skins and chop those up roughly. And then you want to chuck a little bit of your garlic into a blender and then chuck in some of your bread. Blitz that up for a few moments until it's fairly fine, and then we're going to make our breadcrumbs. So stick a frying pan onto the hob, turn the heat to medium, add a good generous splash of olive oil, and then chuck in your breadcrumbs. Give the breadcrumbs a good stirring up so they're coated in the oil, and then you want to start to gently toast these off. Don't turn the heat up too high, we want them nice and crispy, but not with too much colour. You want to season with a good pinch of salt and be quite generous with your black pepper, and keep tossing them up in the pan, stirring them through every few minutes, and we want to get them really nice and crispy. Once the breadcrumbs are really nice and toasty, you want to pour those out into a bowl and just let them cool down while we put together the rest of the mac and cheese. So take yourself a nice large mixing bowl, and we want a box grater. And the first cheese we're going to use for this one is some extra mature cheddar. So grate up your cheddar cheese, and once your cheddar's in the bowl, we want some pecorino romano. We want half the amount of pecorino as we have cheddar, and you want to grate up the pecorino right into the cheddar. Give the cheese a good tossing up with your hands to mix it through, and now the cheese is prepared, we're going to make our lovely cheesy sauce. So pop a Dutch oven onto the hob, stick the heat on medium, and we're going to be making a bechamel. So we want some unsalted butter, and you want to start by chucking in about a tablespoon or so. Once the butter starts to melt, we want some plain flour. Chuck in a tablespoon of your flour, give it a good mixing up. We want a nice thick paste, and if you need to, you can always add a bit more butter and a bit more flour until you have as much of the paste as you need. And it's really important to cook off the paste for a few minutes just to cook out the rawness of the flour. And then we want some lovely full fat milk. And the secret to a good smooth bechamel is to slowly incorporate the milk. So chuck in a splash, give it a stir, and go in with another splash. Repeat this process until you have a nice thick, rich, delicious sauce, nice and smooth, no lumps, and then we can start to incorporate our cheese. So chuck in a good handful of your cheese, give it a really good stirring up. Once the cheese is melted through, check for texture, and then add any more cheese that you need. We want our cheese sauce to be really nice and thick, so keep going until your cheese sauce is as you want it. Give it a taste, and then season with a pinch of salt. Give it another good stir, and then you want to stick your cheese sauce to one side on a very low heat, and keep stirring it every few minutes while we cook our macaroni pasta. So you want to pop another pan onto the hob, fill the pan with some water, heavily season the water. We want it as salty as the sea, and then our dried macaroni. Once the water's boiling, chuck in your macaroni, and we want to cook this for about a minute to 2 minutes less than it says on the packet. We still want it to be al dente when it goes in the cheese sauce. At this point, you want to pop on your oven and preheat to 180 degrees. Remove a nice cupful of the pasta water just to finish our sauce later, and then when your macaroni is ready, drain it off and then chuck it into a pan. And then the star of the show, we want some lovely spicy and meaty nduja paste. So chuck in a good couple of tablespoons of your nduja, and then add a good splash of the pasta water, and then we're going to start to add our cheese sauce. So go in with a few ladles at a time, stir it all through. Repeat this until we've got a really nice gooey macaroni. I'm usually quite generous with my cheese sauce. We want the mac and cheese to be really nice and cheesy and gooey. And when everything is all nicely mixed together, you want to take yourself a baking dish or a pie dish. Chuck the macaroni and cheese into the pie dish, and then to finish, we want to scatter over some of our lovely toasted breadcrumbs. I like to be quite generous with the breadcrumbs. It adds a great bit of texture and crunch to the mac and cheese. And then you want to pop your mac and cheese into the oven, and we want to bake this off for about 15 minutes or so. So after a quarter of an hour, get your mac and cheese out of the oven, and we're ready to go. Pile it high on the plate, and all that's left to do is to get stuck in. This one is amazing. So get in the kitchen, get cooking, and enjoy.